and Potato Productions, starring the Water Alchemist. And this is the Alchemist Gnosis. I want to touch on a few topics today, so stay with me and let's walk this excursion together. I want to talk about joining certain movements and why you shouldn't. If you are a solitary witch, or you want to be, or become a solitary chaos magician, I highly recommend this. There's too many organizations that exploit you. I'm going to talk about some. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn from them or join them. No. First of all, Church of Satan, led by Peter Gilmore. They basically are just repackaging the philosophy of atheistic Satanism, which was pushed forth by Anton LaVey. Cost $200 to join. Like I said, it's ran by Peter Gilmore. This Peter Gilmore cannot be trusted. What a lot of people don't know is that he tried to join the Temple of Set. The Temple of Set is really an offshoot of the Church of Satan, which was founded by one Dr. Michael Aquino, who was basically LaVey's second in command when he defected from the Church of Satan in June 1975. Him and his paramour, now wife, Lilith Sinclair, and some others. So Peter Gilmore is not really adding anything philosophically to the Church of Satan. So keep your $200, don't join. The Temple of Set will take you further. They cost $80, and you really have to earn your bones in that organization. But again, any organization where you're coming into, if they're charging you to join, stay away. Okay? I cannot say that more. And the Church of Satan, even in its heyday, you can read the exhaustive tome by Dr. Michael Aquino, Church of Satan, even in his heyday, when people like James Mansfield and Sammy Davis Jr. had ties to that organization. Even in his heyday, it only had about 300 members. So that's all it had, 300. And you were talking about the so-called satanic revival in 1966 all the way into like the early 70s. So stay away from the organizations, because you have to pay coming in. And one particular group, and I see a lot of newbies trying to take quotes from them and take things from them, is Joy of Satan. Joy of Satan. I don't care if Joy of Satan does come on here. I'm saying it, and I'm not the only one. Any occultist in their right mind, the Joy of Satan is a joke. Okay? Period. A joke. You do bad research. Your founder, Priestess Maxine, whose real name is Andrea Harrington, who's anti-African, anti-Semitic, anti-common sense, and is a plagiarist. You have taken the magical ideas of other people and you have not given credit for those ideas. And the whole thing is you're trying to mesh so-called Satanism with the philosophy of Adolf Hitler, right? Anybody who joins that organization, no. I mean, Adolf Hitler was an occultist, but he was a C plus occultist at best. At best. So it's bigger than magic or so-called Satanism and the learned, protocols, the elders of Zion or Menkop. It's bigger than that. So stay away from that. Okay? And many of those sigils that you see, if you go on their now defunct page, but they still have forms, many of those sigils are not for the demonic entities. They're wrong. Period. And I defy any Joy of Satan member. You can come on the Water Alchemist anytime. Okay? You don't stand a chance. So I want that to be known. And let's talk about occultism and cartoons. I always highly recommend, as an occultist, watch cartoons because they will always give you an element of truth. And by myself coming up, and I was a big Marvel Comics fan, I cannot say enough about the movie Doctor Strange. I think every occultist should watch that movie because sometimes we get bogged down and caught up in destination happiness. Like if I just get this job, I'll be happy. If I just get this house, I'll be happy. If I just get this promotion. First of all, Dr. Stephen Strange was created during the time where the occult was about to make a resurgence in the 60s. July 1963 is when Doctor Strange appeared in comic book form in Strange Tales, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And for those that don't really know their occult history connected to Marvel Comics, the characters of Professor X, Charles Xavier, and Eric Letcher, or Magneto are based off of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. And this is about Stan Lee himself. Now back to Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is important to watch because he thought his life was over when his life was just beginning. After his accident, he can no longer be a practicing surgeon. And that's what pushed him into magic. So we have to understand that sometimes this is when this maxim is personified. It's that one door closes, another door opens. And when the Ancient One was about to make her demise, she had told Doctor Strange, when they were both in astral form on a ledge, she said that you could have your old life back, but the world would be lesser for this. So what this means is that sometimes is that occultists, I've said this again, are born. And just because you no longer can do the moving things that you are used to doesn't mean that you don't have a role to play on the evolution of magic, yourself, and humanity. So please watch Doctor Strange. And I think another thing that I really want to say, very much so, George Floyd, rest in power. But you have to be careful with these protests. I'll tell you why. I've seen this before, and this was talked about by G. Edward Griffin in Capitalist Conspiracy. Who funds Black Lives Matter? One of the founders of that movement is George Soros, and this is the key chaos going on. Any revolutionary movement, if you really track them, anytime someone has ties to certain organization movements, move away. Move away. This has happened before because the Rockefellers were founding the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. That's not saying that they were agents, because they weren't. They were dynamic revolutionaries. I had the privilege and the honor to meet myself, the so-called Prime Minister of Defense, who was known at that time as Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture. So, he was the truth. May he rest in paradise. So again, you want to be very careful of organizations joining, whether it's Black Lives Matter or the aforementioned ones from the cult level that I spoke of. And I want to put this out here because this has been put to me before. Are there extraterrestrials on the planet? Yes. They have been here and they are here, but you have to understand, even with extraterrestrials, there's a chain of command. They've always been here. Their thing is really not to really get involved unless they absolutely have to. And your ancestors have spoken of it. The Mayans have spoken about this, and a book that I can recommend talking about so-called extraterrestrials who would be somewhat reptilian, Conversations with Ogo Temele, dealing with a Dogon sage. That is by Marcel Griot and Germaine Detterling. So this is the Alchemist Gnosis, trying to touch on a few things. Be water, my friend.